Follow along, Catholic Pilgrims, as we follow French doctor of the Church, St. Francis de Sales, through his book, Introduction to the Devout Life. Tune in as we read through this practical guide for living out the Catholic faith well. Welcome, Catholic Pilgrims. Friendship is our topic again for today, and today we are focusing solely on evil friendships. Why is it so hard for us to give up a friendship or even a romantic relationship that is not good for us? I think a big part of it is that we all think that we are a good judge of character, and we just can't imagine that we would pick a bad friend. So that's part of it. Another part is that we all struggle with letting people go because there is the what if in the back of our mind. What if they get better? What if they change? What if I'm overreacting? One more reason to touch on is that in our day and age, the judging police have done such a sufficient job in making people think that they can never judge another person's character whatsoever. If you do, you are labeled a moral snob or some equivalent of that label. And we think that maybe we are ungrateful for the friend and we are just judging them wrongly. Nope. God gave us a moral compass for a reason, and if we can't use it to judge bad character and bad actions, even our own, then what the heck is it for? St. Francis wants you to drop bad friendships like a hot rock, and we will hear about it as we turn to chapter 21 of the third part. Chapter 21, Counsels and Remedies Against Evil Friendships. What is the remedy against all these unholy, unblessed friendships? As soon as you feel any inclination towards them, speedily turn away, hasten to the cross of Christ, and let his crown of thorns surround your heart, that those little foxes may not come near. Do not parley with the enemy. Do not say, I will hearken to him, but not obey him. I will open my ears, but close my heart to him. Rather, be strict in such things. The heart and the ears are closely connected, and as it is impossible to stop a torrent in its course down the mountainside, so it is to defend the heart from that which we admit to our ears. The goat, according to Alcmaeon, breathes through its ears instead of its nostrils. This Aristotle denies. I know not how this is, but I do know that our heart draws its breath through the ears, receiving thereby the thoughts of others, which it exhales again by the mouth. Be watchful, therefore, against hearkening to foolish words, else your heart will be infested, and do not fear to be uncivil or rude in rejecting all such. Remember that your heart is dedicated to God, and your love sacrificed to him. It is sacrilege to take one particle from him. Rather, renew your offering by countless resolutions and protestations, taking shelter therein as a stag at bay. Call upon God. He will succor you. His love will protect yours, so that it may be wholly his. And if you are already taken in the net of such hollow friendships, hasten into the presence of God, acknowledge before him your weakness and vanity, and then, with the greatest firmness that you can, abandon all these follies, abjure the vain profession that you have made, renounce the promises received, and by a great and determined act of the will, arrest your heart in its progress, and resolve never again to enter on so dangerous a path. If you can depart from the object of such love, I greatly approve of it. For as it is said that he who is bitten by a serpent cannot be easily cured in the presence of those who have been themselves wounded by the same bite, so the person who has been stung by love will be healed with difficulty in the sight of the other victim of the same passion. The young man of whom St. Ambrose speaks in his second volume on penance, having made a long voyage, returned entirely freed from the impure loves in which he had previously indulged. He was so changed that when his partner in sin met him and said, Dost thou not know me? I am still myself. He replied, But I am no longer myself. Absence had brought about this happy change, and St. Augustine tells us that he hastened from Tagaste to Carthage in order to overcome his exceeding grief at the loss of his friend. But what must he do who cannot withdraw himself? Let him absolutely retrench all particular familiarity, all private conversation, amorous looks, smiles, and in general, all communications and allurements which might nourish this filthy and smoking fire. Or, if he must speak to the other party, let it be to declare by a bold, short, and serious protestation the eternal divorce that he has sworn. I cry aloud to everyone who has fallen into these wretched snares. Cut them, break them, tear them. You must not amuse yourself in unraveling those criminal friendships. You must rend them asunder. Do not untie the knot, burst them or cut them, so that the cords and strings may be worth nothing. We must make no compromise with a love that is contrary to the love of God. But after I have thus broken the chains of this infamous bondage, there will still remain some feelings. The marks and traces of the iron will still be imprinted on my feet. That is my affections. No, Philothea, they will not, if you have conceived such detestation of the evil as it deserves. For if this is the case, you will no longer be stirred by any movement but that of an extreme horror of this infamous love, and of all relating to it, and you will rest free from all other affection towards the object you have abandoned, but that of a most pure charity for God's sake. But if, through the imperfection of your repentance, you still feel certain evil inclinations, procure for your soul a mental solitude, as I have taught you before. Retire into it as much as you can, and renounce all your evil inclinations by ejaculations of the Spirit 1,000 times repeated. Reject them with all your strength. Occupy yourself more than usual with holy books. Confess and communicate more frequently. Reveal with humility and simplicity the suggestions and temptations which trouble you to your director if you can, or at least to some faithful and prudent soul. And doubt not that God will deliver you from these passions if you continue faithfully in these good exercises. Do you say that it is ungrateful thus to break off a friendship? Welcome that ingratitude which is pleasing to God. But it is not ungrateful. On the contrary, we serve our friend as well as ourselves, for the danger was mutual. And if not now, ere long he too will join your song of thanksgiving and say, O Lord, thou hast broken my bonds asunder. I will offer unto thee the sacrifice of praise, and will call upon the name of the Lord. A few years ago, I read the book Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Pip is the main character, and he's a likable guy. And the book starts out with him as this young kid, basically. He is an orphan and is being raised by his sister and her husband. His sister is an absolutely hideous human being, but Pip's brother-in-law is a very good-hearted man. How the two ever got together is beyond me. Anyway, Pip is poor, and his lot in life is to be a blacksmith like his brother-in-law. And there's this girl in town named Biddy, and she's just the sweetest girl, and she wants what's best for Pip, but he doesn't really pay her much attention. So he has two really good friends. He has his brother-in-law, his name is Joe, and he has Biddy. But because he wants to break out into the world and kind of move up the social ladder, he just doesn't want too much to do with Joe and Biddy because, they're from the poor town that he grew up in. Early on in the book, a strange opportunity comes upon Pip, and he goes to be a sort of companion to this old wealthy woman who is just bizarre. Her name is Miss Havisham, and she's just plain crazy. She has taken into her care an orphan of her own, Estella, and raised her to exact revenge on men. And the reason is that Miss Havisham was scorned by the love of her life, and that's what she wants to do. She wants to exact revenge on men. Estella is the most heartless, cold, unenjoyable young woman ever. But because she is fetchingly beautiful, Pip falls for her hard. Hard. He knows she's horrible. She tells him that she can never love him. She's incapable of love. And yet, he doesn't turn away from her. Meanwhile, Biddy, sweetest, gentlest gal ever, loves Pip and is a good friend to him. But all he can see is Estella. And she becomes kind of an idol for him. What is so frustrating is that Pip knows that Estella is bad and the reader is yelling at him through the pages and he refuses to walk away from her. Now, eventually he kind of has to because of certain circumstances, but he doesn't just kind of go willingly on his own. St. Francis tells us, quote, "If you are already taken in the net of such hollow friendships, hasten into the presence of God, acknowledge before him your weakness and vanity, and then, with the greatest firmness that you can, abandon all these follies, abjure the vain profession that you have made, renounce the promises received, and by a great and determined act of the will, arrest your heart in its process and resolve never again to enter on so dangerous a path." Unquote. If we know a friendship is bad, if others tell us that they are bad for us, or even if they tell us, like Estella, it is time to walk away. Nothing good comes of it, and it is unhealthy for you and for the other person. But what if it is hard? St. Francis says, quote, "Reject them with all your strength. Occupy yourself more than usual with holy books, confess and communicate more frequently, reveal with humility and simplicity the suggestions and temptations which trouble you to your director if you can, or at least to some fruitful and prudent soul." Unquote. And I would add, ask yourself why you are holding on to someone that you know is bad for you. And you have to be honest with yourself. I held on to someone for far too long because I thought that if I could make them love me, then it would mean that I had worth. And this was just very unhealthy thinking, and it caused a lot of pain in my life. So just walk away and fill your life with people and things that are good for you. Fill your life with God and, quote, "doubt not that God will deliver you from these passions if you continue faithfully in these good exercises." Unquote. I can't tell you how the rest of Great Expectations turns out, so you'll just have to pick up the book and read it yourself. It's a good one, highly recommend. And if you do read it, or if you've already read it, tell me what you think, especially the ending. I still don't know what happened in the ending. I'm still a little confused. Now I've probably left everybody confused. But anyway, we'll stop here for today. One more reading on friendship the next time we meet. And until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.